We got to talk about how it's going to affect Oklahoma week 1 against Temple because no running backs coach. How does it affect the rotation? We'll discuss coming up next here on Locked On.
You are Locked On Sooners, your daily podcast on the Oklahoma Sooners. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
College football is back, and it's not too late to catch up before the season kicks off. SEC, ACC, Big 10, Big 12. You can get it all from Locked On's stable of college experts by subscribing to the Locked On College Football Podcast. Who has a chance to make the playoff? What teams will cause chaos in their new conferences? Everything you need to know all in one place. Be sure to follow and subscribe to Locked On College Football Podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. So, Jay, DeMarco Murray will sit out in one game. Presumably Temple. Nobody's said specifically that's the case, but I imagine a one-game suspension. What's the next game? Temple game. So DeMarco Murray going to be out this game. What does it mean for Oklahoma Sooners running back situation?
I don't think it really affects much of anything. We're playing against, Temple. It's no shade against Temple, but it's shade against Temple at the same time. Mm-hmm. They're considered one of the bottom 5 teams in the country. And so for us, it's going to be, we kind of have an idea of what the running back rotation is going to look like anyway, right? You're expecting Gavin Sawchuk and Javonte Barnes based upon the depth chart. You'll probably see a little mix of the young guys from like a Taylor Tatum that's going to get a little bit of run, some Sam Franklin, who's more of a veteran presence. And you'll probably see Caleb Hicks out there as well. Now, I know that we were wondering if you're going to see more Caleb Hicks, but there's a good chance for that, right? Depending on how this game goes in the first half. If Oklahoma blows the top off very early, there's a good chance that you go a lot deeper into the running back rotation and you'll get an opportunity to see them in live reps. But overall, I sense that we're going to focus on 2 backs, Sawchuk, Barnes, and not really deviate away from there. And so there's not really too much strategy that needs to go into who you're going to hand the ball off to, especially in a game, again, against Temple at home. You have an idea of who they are and how young they are. And heck, if I'm correct, the Temple coach even mentioned that he plans on going really deep into his depth chart to reserve some of his bodies for this season. So if he does that and we do that, we know what time it is. I don't think it's going to be concerned. Do you see this being something of concern for the team going into this game?
No, not really. I mean, I think you could hand some of those duties off to a grad assistant, especially when new rules that allow for more assistants to be on the field, as opposed to, your analysts just have to be up in the booth. They can't be engaged in actual coaching activity. New rules allow for whoever DeMarco Murray's, commander or number one is to Jean-Luc Picard, whoever that is. He gets to step up and gets an opportunity to coach a game. Like that's huge for him and huge for his resume. So I imagine Brent Venables will take that opportunity to kind of allow one of his understudies to have some say and some control on how things are going to play out. Brent Venables is all about developing people and developing leaders. And again, this just provides an opportunity. And it's an opportunity for guys like Sawchuk and Barnes to step up and be leaders in the running back room. You don't have the guy that recruited you. You don't have the guy that's your voice on the sidelines with you. So making some of those adjustments. And I think maybe Seth Luttrell probably has a hand in some of this as well. Being a former running back, he may be able to, enlighten these guys on certain things that maybe they need to do better in game. We'll just see. It's going to be interesting to see. I'm not too concerned about how it ultimately plays out against Temple because I think Oklahoma blows the doors off of them. But it's going to be fascinating, I think, in post game to hear some of how Oklahoma operated in that, because I think that can kind of tell you what they think about, certain grad assistants or certain analysts.
The assistant to the assistant regional manager.
To the assistant regional manager. Exactly. David Rowaiye, a Oklahoma City native, played with New Mexico for the last couple of years, was added to Oklahoma's final roster ahead of the 2024 season. What do you make of that?
Yeah, I thought it was interesting. It was a late addition. Appears that it was a player that decided to walk on and got the opportunity to actually make the final roster and be available to play. He didn't play. He redshirted first year in, I think, the 2022 at New Mexico, and then last season didn't see any snaps. But what intrigued me the most was when I saw his measurables. OU Insider had reported, they were the first ones that I saw shoot anything out on social media, but he comes in 6'4", 310. So you got yourself another big boy right there in the middle that you've been looking for. And from Southeast, so he's from Oklahoma City area. Gerald McCoy got underneath the post and said, Southeast, best school. Of course, that's where he came from. So definitely exciting to see that we're adding some additional larger gentlemen to the roster. That way we can kind of fight against the claims that Nick Saban said that we don't have enough trench players. I mean, that's like 5 dudes, about a 300-pound range. So I think we're going to be fine now because of that. So it was just interesting to see that they were able to add somebody that late. And some people have mentioned this. I'll go ahead and clarify. The transfer portal's closed. But if you're in the portal, you can go anywhere if you can get enrolled at said school. School just started for them last week, and so that's last week. So that's probably why he was able to go ahead and get in and get enrolled and be able to make the roster. Probably been there since the beginning of the month of August, and we just didn't know it. So good to see that we're adding some big players.
Yeah, and it's a local kid that gets an opportunity to continue playing football at Oklahoma, but I don't know how much of a factor he'll play early on. I mean, he's going to have a lot of adjusting to do. And but as you mentioned, it's a dude that's 6'5", 310 that gives Oklahoma's offensive line a big body to go up against every day in practice. But it's somebody that Oklahoma can continue to develop. I mean, you never know where you're going to find a diamond in the rough. That's why the whole phrase exists, because every once in a while, you're in this rough patch of grass or rough, mine or whatever. You're not going to find anything, and then, let alone you find something that's very valuable. So I'll be interested to see kind of what happens there. But with, guys like Jayden Jackson and Dejon and Dominic Williams and David Stone and Grayson Halton, Ashton Sanders, Marcus Strong, Davin Sears, like they're pretty well loaded at defensive tackle, and they've got still some projects that they're working on. But he provides a little bit more competition to guys like, Ashton Sanders and Marcus Strong. They're deeper down the depth chart. So competition's always a good thing, right? Iron sharpens iron.
And training with David Stone, that's kind of the intriguing piece to me, right? Is he trains with the same trainers that Stone has used, so putting him next to a guy that know each other, to me, that can be a big deal, because you have a good understanding of each other's tendencies, right? Now, like you said, I'm not sure if David really gets to contribute this season, next season, or ever, but it never hurts to have someone that like that in the walkthroughs for practice, especially going into the SEC, since the only thing we hear about is how big the guys are. They're so much larger than everywhere else. So in that case, having more big guys to practice against is never a negative piece.
Well, and this is a kid that's earned a spot. Brent Venables and Todd Bates aren't in the business of just giving away roster spots. So
at all.
he's come in a short time, has earned an opportunity to continue his college career. So we'll see where that goes. Brent Venables had high praise for several starters, one on offense, one on defense, getting ready for Temple. Let's discuss coming up next on Locked On Sooners. GameTime has a new feature called GameTime Picks that makes getting tickets for your favorite live events even easier. GameTime Picks filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. It's a great app. It makes it so much easier to see what I'm going to be looking at whenever I buy tickets. I know exactly what my view from my seat's going to be. They have the lowest price guarantee, event cancellation protection, and job loss protection as well. GameTime Picks curates, and it makes buying tickets for sports, concerts, comedy, theater so much easier. If you toggle that all-in pricing, you get all the price up front, no surprise fees at checkout, no taxes, all that. Toggle that all-in price feature so that you can see exactly what you're going to be paying, and they give you the lowest price guarantee, or GameTime will credit you 110% of the difference of your ticket. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with GameTime. Download the GameTime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Again, terms apply, but again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off. Download GameTime today. What time is it?
Game time. You've heard us talk about FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. Well, we have something a little different for you this time. Now through September 22nd, all FanDuel customers that bet $5, you'll get 3 weeks of free trial for NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Then with the YouTube TV base plan, you'll be able to watch every regular season Sunday afternoon out-of-market game. All you need is a Google account and a current form of payment, and you can cancel anytime. So just visit FanDuel.com/locked on to download America's #1 sportsbook. Visit FanDuel.com.